You're in for a good presentation today. It's actually hurt my hand typing it, and I was that passionate about it. Yeah, no pressure. So the whole idea with these talks is just to give a understanding or an update of, I suppose, where we are 2019 to 2017, where Alan, myself and the CitA team and Professor Roger West are hoping to publish the 2019 report. So what we're doing is offering snippets along the way of that report. One of the things that we've been working with is creating a BIM forum where we've invited the professional institutes to nominate someone and come together into a collective grouping. Now, most of these institutes are talking with each other and they are interacting, but this just offers another channel to do that. So every month or before every CitA event, we have a meeting and everyone comes together and it gives an update on where they are with regards to their particular institute. So I suppose the most interesting updates that came back from meeting 3 is that the BIM Regions will have its first event, which will be held in TU Dublin's Bolton Street campus, and that will be looking at how the second year MSc and Applied BIM and Management students have used Autodesk new 360 generation suite of cloud software to collaborate in their project. So anyone that's interested in that should come along because it's a real strong demonstration of what Autodesk are doing with the 360 platform. Other interesting updates came from the NSSI, who have released a accreditation. So we actually have a certification now being piloted, which is looking at a external certification for ISO 19650. Public sector BIM are working and offering technical advice to the CSG, the construction sector group. These are going to be responsible for the rollout and implementation of BIM. So this group has been tasked with delivering BIM to the Irish public sector, and public sector group will be working with these in order to advise important information. The RFI, as we all know, have released a very successful BIM pack, and that continues to gather momentum, and they'll be releasing a phase 2 of that, which include a development matrix. And another kind of significant, I suppose, update is that a consortium of different industry bodies, including Engineers Ireland, have worked together to provide information to present to the CSG on what this digital centre of excellence should do, where it should be housed, and what it's going to offer. So that's kind of in the pipeline at the moment. So they're all working together, and there's a lot of different initiatives going on. Another element that we're after finishing up is we did a maturity matrix, a maturity understanding where Ireland was in 2017. So we're after updating that, and we used models that have been established throughout 20-25 different countries through Dr. Mohammed Qasim and Bill Al-Sukar. So we've applied these again to understand where we are 2017 to 2019 to see if the so-called Irish public sector mandate, as well as the MBS roadmap, have had an impact. So if we look at 2017 to 2019, what this model looks at is technology, process and policy across 3 different elements: modelling, collaboration and integration. So to explain what 2017 means, that if we look at the technology side, is that we had advancements in modelling technologies, collaborating technologies we were quite good, and integration technologies we were okay. But when it came to process and policy, so Marshall is, we were quite poor. However, as we can see in 2019, there's a rise across all of these different diffusion areas, meaning that our policies and our processes are starting to come in line now, slightly, not wonderfully, but slightly, with what we can offer on the technology side of things. This model looked at what would constitute the key elements of a successful mandate. And we are still more or less where we are in 2017, but we've seen a rise when it comes to objectives and milestones, as well as regulatory framework. And so this is obviously a response from the roadmap, and as well as the Irish kind of mandate. And further to that, ISO 19650 has helped us kind of improve when it comes to our standardised parts and deliverables. So these slides will be made available. So some of them are quite text heavy. For the purpose of that, you can digest them and disseminate them further afterwards. And more updates from each one of the groups that I didn't get a chance to go into because it's a good bit to cover. What this looked at is who is the industry, who's the leaders? Is it kind of top down or bottom up or middle out? And what we're still finding is that it's still middle out, meaning that the people driving this are mainly the larger contractors. We're still kind of waiting for the government to step in and take it from them. But what we have at the moment is the main leaders hasn't changed from the likes of your larger contractors that we all know who they are at this stage. This one looked at where we were with the government, what approach did they have. So for example, I looked at, is it a passive, assertive or active approach? Ultimately, where we were back in 2017, it was completely passive. The government made aware, they encourage and they observe. If we look at the UK, it would have been assertive, prescribe, enforce and control. So the ideal one would be to have a mixture of assertive and active. Where we are now is pretty much still the same. However, instead of a kind of a passive make aware approach, we've moved towards an educate. So there is a move from the government or the public sector to try and educate instead of just saying, look, this is BIM, okay. They are trying to kind of make aware, and we can see that through the hackathon being organised by Rob and Mary and that. So there are fantastic kind of initiatives ongoing in this kind of space. And the final one looked at who are the leaders. And what we had in here was, for example, even though we have all these, the mandate and the roadmap, the policy leaders are still seen as the educational institutes. So we have policy makers, but who the industry is turning to is the educational institutes in order to kind of upskill and educate, because they're seen as, I suppose, people that are responsible for ensuring that the policy is met. When we look at the technology side, we see there's been a big jump from the technology developers who now have a good share of the market with technology advocates, as well as developers and service providers. And when it comes to community of practice to do with policies, we can see now that the construction organisations are the ones leading in that particular institute, as well as certain institutes as well in regards to processes. This is an educational kind of area, so what we did was we went back out and we started talking again with all the different colleges, the different heads of course, to see has there been an update from 2017 to 2019. Roisin and Mark are after discussing here today the skills gap and the current issues that we have. And then Alice is after going into how she has managed to make construction more attractive now to people within secondary and primary level schools. Digital technologies, building information modelling, has that opportunity to make an impact in the diversification issues, as well as an impact in the attractiveness towards not just primary and secondary school students, but also to the current industry, making more interesting to people. So I've been just interested to see, we had a fantastic offer in 2017. Are the education institutes still in this particular game, and are they still offering it? And without a doubt, from the conversations I had, there's been a real continued drive in this from the education institutes. If I look at some of them, and once again I'm not going to go into all of them, CIT Cork are moving to offer a major level A qualification in this. TU Dublin's MSc in Applied BIM continues to be one of the most sought after programs within the country. It's the only level 9 master's program. It's recently won the Irish Construction Excellence Award. On top of that, there's maybe 100 students between the professions, between the different 3 years. There's also a number of research initiatives going on at the moment. One is the BIMSTAR project, led by Dr. Avril Beaton, where we're working together on delivering condensed, bite-sized training opportunities to the whole supply chain, just-in-time training online. Today, Galway Mayo Institute of Technology also has a very highly sought-after higher diploma in building information modelling. They've also integrated BIM into a number of modules across the undergraduates, as TU Dublin has done as well. And they've recently launched the BIM Futures Design, Development, Piloting and a Professional Development Framework for students, academic staff and industry stakeholders. Carlo has 20 students completing their level 9 certificate in BIM. If we go down and look at a master talking with Mark there earlier, Mark informed me that he's after taking the maddening step of trying to organise 250 students next year across multiple programs into an integrated project, which is going to be fantastic because it'll be able to kind of show the quantity surveyors, the civil engineers, the construction managers, what everyone else is doing, and give a better understanding of each discipline. Down here, so look, it'll be all up in here for further kind of understanding. And Waterford IT have just finished a pilot project, BRE, where all the students coming through are also getting BRE accreditation. So there's a lot going on, and they've won the skills winner and world skills competition they're entering now in Russia. So as we can see, there is significant movement in the educational sector, And the reason for this is because it's a market, because they see that this is an opportunity to upskill and help with the construction sector gap. So it's fantastic to see it, but bringing it back down to today, with Mark and Alison, we do need to do an awful lot more to get into the core of it. And that's realistically where we need to go and show the attractiveness of what this industry can offer to students coming into secondary school. Where I hope to discuss on the next update is that myself, Alan, and Professor Roger West are writing a paper titled Centres of Excellence for Digital Construction Lessons for Ireland's Construction Industry. So we're going to be in contact with a number of different innovation centres across the world, and what we're hoping to find out from them is what are the common themes that constitutes a successful innovation centre. And then we can feed this information back into the industry and feed this to, into the groups that are kind of going for the CSG, and we can all use this in order to kind of ensure that whatever digital construction centre, wherever it's housed, obviously kind of follows some key themes that have been successful in other countries. And finally, we have the results of the MBS CitA survey. They'll be released now in due time. 116 different disciplines. Some of the key findings is that BIM is predominantly used in the health sector, very poorly within the transport and support infrastructure. When I say poorly, it's still 50-odd%, which is quite good, but compared to 92% in the health. A lot of people are saying that they're quite confident in their BIM skills, and some of the main barriers include lack of in-house expertise, no client demand, and lack of training. One of the interesting things to get back was that asked, who would you turn to in order for information in regards to building information modelling, and about 15 or 16 different solutions put across, and the ones that came back out of the top 4 included MBS, Construction IT Alliance, Building Smart, and TU Dublin. So we can see in here that this is really interesting results, and we'll be publishing this now in the very near future. So that's the update for May, and I look forward to be back up here now next month where I'll give a further. Thank you.